Okay, so remember, we're working on Daydream Sampler. So today we are doing the first block that is part of these 12 blocks. We're going to do one block a week. So in her information, she asked for blues, grays, yellows, greens, and whites. What I chose to do is for the whites, I did just this cream color all the way throughout. And then also, I believe on the grays, I did a pink throughout because the last gray on the list is the border, and I really liked the border and I wanted to bring that coloration out. So we're gonna do our first block today. Now, if you guys want the instructions for this pattern, it is the Daydream Sampler book, and you do get 4 additional things with it. Okay, so the first thing I did was I did my cutting. As you can see here, I've got everything labeled with a little letter on it. So that way, because when you get everything over here, you've got all these different measurements and different colors, and it's just easier to do it this way. So we're gonna do 2 blocks at the same time because these 2 blocks, you need both of them. You'll make 4. You'll make 2 with like this and 2 like this. I can do these at the same time. I can actually just chain piece it. So we're gonna do both of these blocks, and then we're gonna put our whole block together for the first block to be done. So we're gonna be doing this every week. And I will send out, if you subscribe to the newsletter, you'll get a copy of this video in the newsletter as well. So if you missed me on a live. So since I've already done one, I have my little cheater here so I don't have to squint, even though I have contacts in. But I have everything labeled. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get our center square, which she has labeled as D, okay? So we have D ready, and we're gonna grab our E, which is our beige, or at least my beige. She does like 4 different color whites, but there's multiple whites in every single one, and it doesn't seem to make a difference. So I'm gonna just put this right here on the very top, as you can see, of each one. Now, instead of doing, 2 separate sections, I'm just gonna go ahead and do both of these at the same time. So I'm just gonna leave that under there, and we're gonna slide this right next to it. And so we're just gonna chain piece and do them both at the same time. All right, get my little snippy snip. Now, normally I'm a big, huge presser. I probably will have to press somewhere along the lines because it's gonna drive me crazy, guys. I'm one of those pressy kind of people. So always, whenever you're following the instructions, just turn it back exactly like you saw it, so that'll make it 10 times easier. So then we need F. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this little sticker off because I've got F right here. And we're gonna do the same thing. We're just gonna piece both of them at the same time. Now you're gonna see how fast this is because since we had everything cut, and I can tell you it didn't take me more than just maybe 10 minutes to cut this for this particular block, because a lot of the cutting is the same. So it wasn't a big deal to cut it. Now, if you order the pattern online, you'll see that the majority of the cuts are 1/4, 1/2, 3/8, and 5/8. There's only like 2 that require more than that, and one of them is because it's the border later on, and so that's what I kind of focused mine from. Okay, I was just making sure I didn't mess up. So that's why I kind of changed it up because I'll be honest with you, I'm not a real big yellow person. I know a lot of people that like yellow, but I'm not a yellow person. Oops. So I just don't do the yellow. Okay, so obviously we've gone one around. You're gonna go counterclockwise. So we're gonna grab our G of our purple, okay? And we're gonna put that right here. I'm gonna go ahead and grab H at the same time. And I'm gonna put it right here because I know that that's going to be next before I go to a different coloration. So we're gonna just line that up and slide that puppy right on through there. And we're gonna line this guy up right here. Okay, cut that off. And okay, I know I told you I was on a finger press, but I prefer not to. I think it's easier just to go ahead and give it a good little press because everything stays where you want it to stay instead of going somewhere else. So I'm just going to turn counterclockwise. Makes it really simple. Set that right here, and I'm going to set this here so I know where it's going to go after I'm done with this one. So log cabins are one of those that are very easy. They go together super fast, and they always look exceptionally nice, I think. Log cabin's one of my favorites. Actually, a lot of times in some of the patterns that you'll see that you'll be like, oh my gosh, it's just so beautiful. Usually there might be a log cabin incorporated in with it to kind of give it that swirly look, or, you know. Yeah, there's another pattern that we have in there. It's called Eureka, and I did it a long time ago. And when I was putting my fabrics together, just so you guys know, we're gonna grab I, hold on, and then J's gonna be next. So I'm just gonna go ahead and set J right over here. When I was at the store, and I was at a store down in Branson, and this is before I owned my shop, and I loved this pattern. They had it hanging up, and they had it all in blues. Well, I found this boutique that had like purples and golds and greens in it. So for one of the levels that was supposed to have these several levels of cream, I did the boutique in that for the whole thing. And then I did some purples and some greens with it. And it turned out so good that I was just like, all right, so this time, considering I could use like multiple different colors of the, I think it was what they're considering the white. I just figured I would do it all the same because I think it'll look a little bit sharper in my personal preference, but and not quite as busy because it's going to be busy anyway. So remember, we're just going counterclockwise. So now we're going to put our J over here. We're going to get rid of that J sticker so we know that we are not losing our minds. Okay, just line that up right again. And just so you know, I mean, I think most of you do, but you know, there are some people that are newer quilters. You know, if you don't already have a 1/4 inch foot, it is well worth getting. I don't sell these, but I would say if you don't have one for your machine, I would just look it up online and look up which one is for your machine, you know, because there are some machines with high shanks, low shanks, all of those kind of good things. And there's a lady outside, but I think she might be a little confused. So we might have to go on pause here in a second. Oh no, apparently she checked my mail. Hi. So I can see out the window. All right. So I'm gonna kind of like finish up for just a second. I can probably pause one of them. So I'm gonna continue going counterclockwise with all of my colors, and then I'm gonna put these 4 together. So I'm gonna come back to you here shortly, and we're gonna finish up. So thank you so much. Okay, I got her all squared away. So here I am, I'm back. We're in the same spot as before. Okay, gotta get my brain in here, just going right. So okay, so now we are on to, we should be, yep, so we're back onto the coloration of it. So it should be K and L, should be your next one. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and set K right here and here, and then I'm gonna leave the L right there. So then we're just gonna zippity-doo-dah right around. So if you get confused, it's always easy just to look where your last seam was, just going around, because we're going counterclockwise. So you're gonna go on this side that is going to be the open side, basically. I don't know how else to explain that. So there's that guy. Zippity him on there. But, you know, I have had times where I've gotten the log cabins together, maybe like a little bit off in my counterclockwise, but I still made it work out. By the time I got it quilted, trust me, nobody noticed. So don't fret yourself. Now I know that I do have certain people, friends in my life, that they're very OCD, and if that's the case, that's fine. Then you can take it apart and put it back together. But I don't want you to fret too much, because you're supposed to enjoy what you're doing and not cause more stress in your life. All right, so now we're going to just add L on the side of both of those. I'm just going to line that up. All right. So I know we were talking about 1/4 inch feet right over here, a 1/4 inch petal. It does make your life so much easier. If you don't have a 1/4 inch foot, I can tell you, you can buy special magnets for it, or you can like run to your local Ace Hardware and get one of those block magnets and just put it where your 1/4 inch seam should be. And that helps guide, so you have a smooth 1/4 inch. It'll just make your life a little bit easier instead of trying to follow a line. Especially, you know, when we're trying to multitask. Because I know, like for myself, a lot of times I have the TV going while I'm sewing, and I might get a little distracted depending on what I'm watching. But so usually I have multiple things going on. Okay, so the next thing we have is we have M and N on our lighter colors. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put this guy right here. And we're gonna get rid of that little sticker. Now, I do have like the pens that have letters and numbers and all that stuff on it. And you could use that, but sometimes I like kind of the Post-it notes because it's bigger, and when I'm doing multi things, I don't wanna have to, I wanna be able to grab it pretty quickly. But if you're lining things up on like if you have rows like 1, 2, 3, blah, 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 the pins and the little clips, they're kind of handy. I've got 2 different versions where they have letters and numbers, because I know there's been plenty of times where, you know, like we'll go into the bedroom and lay everything out because it's a large quilt, and then I'll put it all together and I swore I had everything right, and then I'll go to lay it back down and I'll be like, oh man, that one was supposed to go there and not there. So then you're taking stitches out and putting it back together. So, okay, now, alrighty, let's put this guy on here. So this will be the last of the light color that we put on, and then we'll have one more round of the color one. Let's go away. So there's that. So I can tell you, once I got mine all figured out, I chose majority-wise Anna Marie Textiles fabrics. So I've got a lot of that, and then I combined in there, I've got the Flourish Blenders by QT Fabrics. So between the two, that's what mine is. Now, you can always do whatever makes you happy at the end of the day. But how I chose my colors is I knew that each block was going to be different. So, and then one of the colors was going to be obviously the border, which would bring everything together. So I chose my border fabric first, and then I drew my colors from that, because your border fabric, obviously, the reason why I picked it is I think it's just so pretty. So always make sure to have whatever focal fabric be the determining factor of your colors. So I always, whenever I'm putting stuff together, I'm going to look at either what's the focal fabric that's already like a focal theme, or what's the majority of the fabrics that are going to be in there. And that usually will help me decide, you know, what fabrics I want to put with it. You know, especially with this one being, that's what I get for talking. Especially with this one, you know, there's no 2 blocks alike. So a lot of the colors are going to be, you know, kind of just an accent to the bigger pieces. And I think the biggest piece is going to be the border. So sometimes I get a little carried away with myself. Where to go? There, right? Yes. And there. Okay. I got the wrong color on that block. And okay. Now, let's see here, we'll just sew this bad boy right on there. And this one will go on the correct side. Now, what I'm curious of is what is everybody else working on? You know, the holidays are gonna get here before we know it because it's September. And the weather's actually been decent for us. Although later this week it's supposed to get a little bit warmer. And I'm all for the warmth just to go away because I'm hot enough all the time anyway. You know, I have that heat temperature problem. So, not saying I want it to be bitter cold, but I wouldn't mind it being a little chilly. I do enjoy fall quite a bit. But I will tell you a funny story while we're adding on this last one is, so I'm originally from, well, I previously lived in Florida. And when I first moved to Florida, I thought everybody was crazy there because here they are in jackets at winter. Well, I'll tell you, your blood thins out a lot faster than it thickens. So the next year, here I am in a jacket right with them. So I was like, okay, that's what I get for judging, right? And then I would go off to college in Texas, and then I moved here. So my blood is still relatively thin, and I will tell you, the first few years, and I'm in Missouri, I thought I was gonna freeze to death. Okay, I was raised in Korea. It's like crazy cold there. And so when I first got here, it was like 70 degrees outside. And I went back inside and grabbed like a light jacket. And I remember everyone thought I was crazy. And now I understand why. Okay, so we have 2 blocks that look like this. And then we have 2 that are the greens, right? Okay, so this block is made up of these 4. So what we're doing is we are making this guy right here, okay? And it's made up of our 4 blocks that we just did. So coloration wise, because I did different colors. Oh, booger chaser, I did just do that. Did you guys see what I did? It was supposed to be blue, green, blue, green. Okay, so I'm gonna look. This is where we call it improv, right? I'm gonna look at what the finished product is and see, is it gonna have a huge thing on the end? No, because see, on the end, it doesn't line up to anything else. So I'm gonna roll with what I got and just kind of make it my own. Now, I will tell you, if you did it correctly, unlike me, you would have one color and then a different color and then a different color. So I did not, I was a naughty child and I did not do it properly. So I am just going to roll with my punches and go kind of crisscrossy with the colors. And I think that will be fine because it'll give like a little wave flow, okay? So we're gonna sew these 2 together and then we're gonna sew these 2 together. So make sure that what I wanna do is, yeah, that's what I wanna do. Okay, so we're gonna sew these guys together. And yes, I do lick my fingers, but it's mine. So if you have, nope, you don't, okay. I'm gonna pop these little 2 guys together. I feel so bad, guys. I told you the wrong way. Well, I had the right letters. I just didn't turn it around color-wise, and I don't know why I didn't think about that, but by golly, I did. Okay. So, zippity-doo. Okay, so we got both of these. I'm gonna give it a good little press. And I'm gonna press my seam. So I consciously am pressing my seam to the green side. Okay, so whichever side you're gonna press to, do it on the other one. I'll show you why here in just a second. Okay, so I pressed to the green side because the green was darker. Okay, so now I'm gonna line these bad boys up, right? Now you're gonna understand why I pressed to the same coloration. So that way when I flipped these guys over like this, I can make these interlock right here. So see how it's going this way? And then you have one going this way. So when you set these right here, you're gonna have it almost like a little lock. See that? Okay. So now I'm gonna take one of my pins because I don't want it to come undone because I want that to be a nice little crisp corner right there that they intertwine together. So got that. Now I'm just gonna make sure that I'm lined up everywhere else. Okay, and then make sure we're lined up down here. So if you have a little space, like extra, make sure that that side is on the underneath side. And the reason why is because as the feet go underneath, it kind of like grabs, you know? So you can kind of manipulate to where it pulls up a little bit from the underneath if you have that case. And it's gonna happen from time to time. I know I'm not perfect, so we're obviously, I did this kind of wrong. I mean, got the seams in there right, but just kind of messed up the color part, but that's okay. All right, so I'm just gonna do a little zoom all the way down. So when I get close to where I'm going, I'm going to kind of slowly get to right there. I don't want to hit my needle, but because we almost made like a dove cut, or like, so basically our two seams are interlocking like this, right? So we have one here and one here. So as I'm rolling my stitch or my needle, I kind of want to already hit one of them, so I know it's not going to go anywhere. And because since they're dubbed on top of each other, what's going to hold it in place for the rest of the time, okay? So we just make sure that we got everything else kind of lined up and doing what it's supposed to do. Run that 1/4 inch all the way down. Okay, so I'm going to put this here. Put your little runner here. Okay, so a couple things. When you're doing these stitches, you have two choices. I got you, little booger. So what I was saying is you have two choices. You can backstitch if you want to, and sometimes I do. But you're gonna be piecing these guys together here and there and blah, 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 okay? So you wanna make sure that they're locked together so they don't come apart. So there's two things you could think about. You can do a back stitch, or if you have your little running piece, like extra fabric in your sewing machine, go past your edge and do like 3 or 4 stitches and then land on the next fabric that's your leader, okay? That will help to kind of almost put the knot at the end. I did not know that until a couple weeks ago. I always did my locking stitch, but that is very, very true. Okay, so now we've got this guy all magically put together. Give it a good press. Okay, now I'm gonna open him up. Okay. Now, I'm going to tell you one other little tidbit of information. Okay, so this is block 1. We have it done. Now, if I were to have this to the side for quite a while, or if I had a finished quilt that had basically these open seams all the way around, right? I'm not going to do anything that's going to hurt it. So what I'm going to do is, because I know I'm going to wind up picking this up and showing it multiple times, and it's going to be moving around a lot. Now, you probably won't be moving it around a lot, but I will tell you, let's say this was your finished quilt, I would highly recommend just going on here and doing a light basting stitch, okay? You don't have to go fast or anything because you don't want it to do anything crazy. And I'm just going to go around. I think I ran out of thread. Da, 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 da. Nope, it just didn't pick up right away. Okay, that's all right. We'll do it again. Bum, 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 bum. Okay. Are you picking up? No, it's not. Okay. Hold on one second. We're going to try to make this little guy do what I want it to do. There we go. There you are. Why weren't you cooperating earlier? Because I think it was at the end of it was at the end of its life. Yes, that's the problem. Okay, well, it was at the end of the life. I'm not going to make you wait. Okay, so what normally I would say is run a basting stitch all the way around. That prevents these little guys opening or puckering open. So sometimes even when we get it as the quilters to quilt for you guys, some of these seams will be open, or like they'll try to stitch it together for you while it's on the long arm, or they'll say, hey, you've got a couple sections that opened and I marked them for you. If you do a light basting stitch all the way around, you should not have that issue because it gives that extra little snug and tug, right? So, okay, so super proud. We got block 1 done. I might have had a slight alteration of it, but this is gonna be our block 1. And I still like it, even though the colors aren't any opposite direction, okay? So, you guys, as I said before, if you want to follow along, I'm gonna do 1 a week. It is the Daydream sampler magazine that you will have to, or book that you have to order. And I will tell you that it has, I think either was it 3 bonus projects in the back of the book, and price wise, it is $12.99. So basically you're getting 4 patterns for $12.99. If you guys have been to the quilt shops in a while, sometimes the single patterns are so expensive that is a deal. Like I've got a lot of patterns here that are $12 just for 1. So thanks for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe and follow us. If you haven't gone onto the website at carmensquiltshop.com, and it's spelled with an O, subscribe to our newsletter. I will usually tag this in the newsletter, and I will just basically post like new items and new things that are going on. So thanks for tuning in, and have a great day, guys. Bye.